Welcome to SOCAR's Legion Public Platoon Leadership Training Program. In this program, you will learn the essentials and a little extra to help you fast-track your leadership journey. Remember, well-done simplicity is better than poorly executed complexity. The focus is on nailing the basics. Properly setting up your platoon. Once you have your squad descriptions properly set, found in Outfit Discord for easy copy and pasting, set yourself as both platoon lead and Bravo squad lead as well, mostly to eliminate the confusion the two similar gold stars cause. Whenever you feel up for it, or when you want it for your own sanity, you can stack Bravo squad with your most reliable players. Prioritize players that listen over skill levels or battle ranks. There are many things you can use a stacked Bravo squad for, and it can be a nice break from cat herding to accomplish smaller tasks with a more cohesive group from time to time. You can't just ignore your platoon for them, but sometimes they can also accomplish things better and faster than a larger group can. Sometimes it's nice to have the majority of your platoon distract the enemy forces or hold capture points so you and Bravo can go sunder hunting. That's just an example. There is a different guide for Bravo squads for more detail. You don't always have to stack Bravo, I certainly don't, but it can make your session more enjoyable when you're up for it. Also, you don't have to use them even if you do set it up. It's an extra tool, not an extra chore. Last note about setting up your platoon is the dismantling. Please, 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 when the last platoon leader logs off, disband the platoon. If no one will take it, disband it. Building your platoon. Most platoon leaders should have access to mass invite. However, with 4 continents open and so many platoons in operation, the outfit mass invite won't be what it used to be. Use it once at the start of your platoon, and that's probably it. Anyone in the platoon can press and hold Q while looking at a friendly, and a small menu will appear on the HUD to invite them into the platoon. Right-clicking on players in minimap or full-screen map mode is the best method. Do this in battles you're fighting in. I will often go to large battles at the start of building a platoon specifically to find players to invite. The second best method is keeping an eye on the outfit text chat. When someone asks for an invite, often with an X, you can right-click their names and invite them in. Hopefully they are letting you know with that X what continent they are on, so you know if inviting them makes sense or not. We will definitely have to continue to work on that. Managing numbers building your platoon quickly. Make sure at least one squad has at least 9 or 10 players in it so the squad stays at the top of the recruitment list. Don't let squads sit at full. Rotate to less full so you can keep building quickly. Planetside Common Terminology. Beacons placed, or beacons up, for placing spawn beacons. Get everyone away from using down as both a positive and a negative. Bacon used to be common short for spawn beacon, so sometimes you will still hear players say stuff such as, bacon is crispy, to indicate they have placed the spawn beacon. Waypoints are actual, means the waypoint is updated, current, and should be followed. Hard spawns are spawns that cannot be destroyed, the ones in the facilities. Zombies, groups of players being revived in the middle of or behind your forces by revive grenades. They can either be easy kills or a serious threat. Lattice hub, this is where lattices converge. They are mostly better bases to defend with longer capture timers. Major facilities, this includes tech plants, amp stations, and biolabs. Fortresses, bases that are exceptional to defend but are neither lattice hubs or major facilities. The only fortress that is actually called a fortress is Mani Fortress. The others you will just learn as you go. Deployables, anything in your inventory that you can deploy. Blueberries, you would think that this means the NC. It actually refers to players in your faction that are not in your platoon. This is a throwback to Planetside 2 early days where the HUD color schemes were different. It just sort of stuck around. I will make a conscious effort to start saying grapes instead of blueberries the day we all stop using spawn beacon down to mean both placed and destroyed. Farm. Farming kills or certifications, farming or being farmed. OS means orbital strike. There are probably another handful, but that's a good enough start for now. Command communications. We cannot keep using outfit chat as SKL command chat. There are way too many people doing way too many different things for that. We shouldn't be using outfit chat much at all, really. Because SKL comprises the majority of platoons on an average night anyway, it's fine for us to use the command channel. However, you need to learn to use it respectfully and not a lot. I had command chat on mute for 2 to 3 years straight because people would discuss, come up with a plan, and by the time they were done, the whole situation had changed and their plan didn't work anymore. Or after a lengthy discussion, no one would agree on a path forward anyway. After years of playing this game, I can say with a fair amount of certainty there is little worth discussing in command chat. And even if there is, few people will likely agree with you anyway. It's more like an advisory critical information channel. Command, be advised, TR are at Matherson's attempting a cutoff. Command, I was holding at Howling Pass, but now they have 65% population and we're not holding. If there's anyone to spare, we could use a hand. Command, just a heads up, I am making a run to cut them off at Not Am Station. That's it. Never pour gas on the fire if there is one. Mute exists for a reason. Mute command channel or individuals in it if you really need to. If you want to coordinate with other SKL leadership more in depth than you can in the in-game command channel, you must be in the Discord voice communications for it. I cannot stress that enough. SKL Standard Doctrine. Repel hard and attack harder. Each attack on a new base with no defenders should be treated like a training session until the enemy shows up. Don't focus quite as much on territory and alerts. Focus on the battle you are in. Newer platoon leads especially should operate more in the center of the map. Up until escalation, it was more or less SKL standard to avoid the middle, leaving the TR and NC more lattices to fight each other. The escalation patch means we are moving more into the center now. Being double teamed by the other factions has always existed. You need to learn to not stress it. It's just a video game. You can get the territory back. We win more than our fair share of continents anyway. If we win much more, they will be nerfing the Vanu again, so just relax about the double teams. The only thing you can really do during these double teams when you're outnumbered everywhere is to focus your own population so you outnumber them somewhere, anywhere. Push hard, destroy their sunders, kick them out, and rotate to the next defense. The real-life version of this is known as defeat in detail. If there is an enemy Hellzerg that you just can't match, don't. Destroy the other attacking forces, let the Zerg break up through boredom, or cut them off in behind. Save all of your territory stress energy for the end, because continents often come down to the last 15 to 30 minutes anyway. Lattice hubs often have multiple control points and longer capture timers. You can use these bases to hold off larger populations while rotating forces around to kick them out one base at a time. Using lattice hubs, major facilities, and other fortress-style bases while rotating your own forces around to kick out enemy platoons is the closest thing to a strategic doctrine there is. Which is why you should take such facilities with everything you can muster and not get stuck grinding on them, or just cut them off from behind. Territory cutoffs are as SKL as maple syrup is Canadian. Why capture 9 bases individually when you can capture 3 and get 6 nearly for free? Of course, it's sometimes easier said than done, isn't it? Put most of your focus into the battle in front of you, not the map. In essence, there are 5 types of battle. Only 3 are for you to actually remember. Repel, hardcore defending, lots of spawn point hunting, aggressive defending. Hold/delay, outnumbered on the defensive, dig in. Productive, moving forward on the offensive. I should point out, progress on the attack means trying different things out if you're stuck, not giving up at the first sign of resistance. It also doesn't mean staying in a failed attack forever and getting farmed. The fourth would be field fights. They are rare to occur, difficult to force, and even more rarely actually useful, so we're just going to skip over them for now. The fifth type of battle would be a stalled attack / getting farmed, but we're not going to do that. Try stuff until you're moving forward, and if that fails, fall back to an adjacent Vonu territory or redeploy to defend something under attack elsewhere. How to tell if you're being farmed? If you are on the attack and are neither capturing the base nor making good progress towards capturing the base, you're probably being farmed. Sunder hunting. When you are hunting sunders, which you should be doing most often, remember you don't always have to go through the enemy. Take a squad around them. Even better yet, have volunteers take stalker, cloaker infiltrators around the enemy the long way and do squad-sized steel rains on the enemy sunders using spawn beacons. Another possibility is to organize a strike of 6 volunteers with standard equipment liberators to come in at the same time and pick off as many as they can. A handful of lightning should also be able to accomplish this, though they are more likely to be intercepted. If you can manage the facility capture timer of the base you are defending, if your spawn point is near the capture point for recap, or if you have a full timer, or if there are multiple control points and you can keep at least one, you might be able to bypass most of their platoon who are defending the capture points, destroy their sunders, and then turn back on them. Just keep one eye on the timer while you're trying this. It's all about that timer. Now, while on the move, the main methods of travel. If you are attacking a new base, pull 48 sunders and head over more or less together. If you are reinforcing attack, if possible, direct spawn and the first arrivals must place spawn beacons. More likely, with no direct spawn, use galaxies and or sunders. Galaxies for time restraints, and sunders for more staying power. Defending a base, direct spawn and first arrivals must place spawn beacons. Defending a base with no direct spawn, galaxies or sunders from the closest VS bases. The whole spawn option list. Galaxies, which can also be used as static spawns at max altitude. The logistics implant will allow anyone to spawn into the open seat of your vehicle, including the flash. Valkyries, routers, which is a construction item, sunders, spawn beacons, Elysium spawn tubes, which is another construction item, and of course the hard spawns at bases. Note about the galaxies. Galaxies should only land if you're going to load up with max suits and actually have the time to do that. Otherwise, just fly directly to destination and players can spawn directly in the galaxies during flight. However, you can't do this when you are flying through enemy territory, unlike driving sunders. This is why you will still need spawn beacons on arrival. Need to know spawn mechanics. If your faction has the majority population on grid, you will lose your direct deploy. And this next one is a little bit weird that I suspect will be changed sooner or later. You cannot directly deploy to a grid if there are more than 96 players already there, even if they are all enemies. 96 plus cuts off direct deploy for everyone. Of course, that's what galaxies, sunders, and spawn beacons are for. Spawn points. It's not enough to have sunders, they need to deploy in the correct spots for optimal access to the base. Much of the time, this happens naturally, especially if you bring lots of them. Chances are, if you are missing the good sunder location, one of the experienced players will ask for it, so you don't need to actually worry about this. You can alter your platoon's sunder placements by placing waypoints precisely where you want to make sure to have sunders, and announcing them as priority locations. If you are stuck at a facility, poor spawn options could be the reason. Bring more sunders in, redeploy them, call for a router, get spawn beacons down, and try again. Spawn streams. A spawn stream is simply the stream of players from a spawn point to an objective. Sometimes, spawn streams can get stuck in meat grinders. Tunnel vision on a platoon scale occurs and they remain stuck on a single path or choke point. It's often easier to open the battle up rather than try to blast through the hard point. I find a simple shift left or right, repeated until they listen, works quite well. Spawn routes. Spawn routes control a large portion of the flow of battle. There are too many circumstances to discuss this in its entirety, so let's try to tackle it at its core. We have won battles by changing nothing more than establishing a faster route from spawn to objective, or using a waypoint to establish which sunder to primarily use. Time to target can be a critical factor. It's important to note they often will not do this themselves. Even if they are being slaughtered and there's an obvious alternative, you really do have to tell them exactly what to do often. Here are some general cat herding tips in no real order. Have players adjust audio settings, such as voice ducking, so that you can be clearly heard even in the heat of battle. Voice controls. On the numpad, you have plus to increase, minus to decrease, and enter will mute all current speakers. Repeat yourself repeatedly. 80-20 rule in Planetside. Don't spend 80% of your time and energy on 20% of the platoon. Go with what you have, particularly whenever time is an issue. Same rule goes for problematic players. Better remove one from a platoon than force 47 to listen to it. Praise when they are doing well. It doesn't mean you have to make stuff up just to compliment them, but don't pass up the opportunity when they do stuff right and timely or show intelligent initiative. Here's a patent quote. Never fail to honor your people. When a true leader's work is done and his aims fulfilled, they should say and believe, "We did this ourselves." There is a line between explaining the orders too much and not enough. Players want to know why they are doing things, but they also want to be able to hear the game at least some of the time. That's about as well as I can define that. I've always leaned towards speaking too much rather than too little. You will learn there are certain things you need to essentially handhold if you want them done right. Getting players to hold the tech plant from the stairs and not the A point is probably the best example. Minimal micro. We give orders on the macro scale consistently. We typically give orders to the entire platoon, or at least to an entire squad. Sometimes we will ask for volunteers to respond to a problem such as ghost captures nearby. But you can micro some here and there. You can ask for an anti-infantry mana turret to be placed at a specific location, hopefully safe from snipers, or a cobalt ant with proximity detection, or some anti-air. Little things to improve the battle. Make your own life easier by encouraging things that make platoon leading easier. Spawn beacons often, at the very least every time you arrive at a new base. Lots of sunders. Lots of medics. Lots of proximity detection and Q spotting. Managing nanites for the whole platoon. If you think a vehicle or max pole or a few grenade barrages are in your near future, you'll need the nanites for them, so have them conserve. However, also remind them not to sit on 750, especially if you are not actively conserving. I recommend more grenades. Platoon fatigue is real. Bio breaks. We all know how it can be to get into a trance gaming. You sit down, throw on the headset, and boom, 7 hours go by before you realize, oh yeah, I was going to have breakfast. So when things are slow, tell people to go get some food. Splash some water on their face, take 3 deep breaths, whatever they need to do to recharge. I like to do one at the opening of a new continent, and to try to get another one in before the alert triggers. Keep in mind, high intensity can build momentum, but it also tires people out, including the platoon leader. Low intensity is fantastic as a recharge, but too much and it quickly starts to dull them out. In a perfect world, we would have so many platoon leads that we would have spares to rotate in and out. That would help out the platoon leaders at the very least, but we're just not there yet. Minor tactics / boosts. Sunder and spawn point hunting whenever you're not digging into the control points. Trial weapons can fill gaps. You can't often use them because they have timers, but when you really need them, they're there. Grenade barrages. Suppressing fire / fire superiority. Detection. Crossbow, Ant, Valkyrie, Flash, there's lots of options. Callouts to use Q to spot targets, especially at night. Smoke the enemy, not yourselves. This is because of Q spotting, by the way. Squad-sized steel rains using spawn beacons in battle and not as a travel method. Be aware of zombies. Momentum. It really matters. In major battles while advancing, I will sometimes call for spawn beacons multiple times in a single push, to keep them placed near the front, to keep our momentum from collapsing. It's not one of the more common ones, but I've used it enough to include it in this list. Now, playing Follow the Gold Star. Talk about the turns and moves you make, keep talking to keep their attention, keep repeating what you are doing. Do really fast countdowns, each stop and start to help keep players together. Max crashes. Repeat yourself repeatedly. Max suits, engineers, medics. Gather on Platoon Waypoint in spawn room. Look for my gold star. Max suits, engineers, medics, max suits, engineers, medics, gold star, spawn room, waypoint, gold star, max suits. There is no real trick to this. Make an educated guess quickly, pick a route, and just go for it. The shortest route is not always the best route. The way around does not always guarantee victory. Wasting time second-guessing yourself accomplishes nothing but lost time and gives the enemy more time to prepare for you. Short countdowns so you all go together. On 3 works well. Keep them moving to the capture point. Keep them pushing forward. You will get slowed down clearing a path, but if you get stopped, you're screwed. You must maintain forward momentum. Other crashes. Heavies and medics move faster and are also better at navigating terrain when it's called for. They also require few, if any, supporting engineers for a single push. Light assaults. These are only used in the most desperate of circumstances, only for when the timer and terrain are conspiring against you. If you jump off the top of many of the tower bases, you can often reach the control points with your light assaults, sometimes bypassing the combat below. But keep in mind, your light assaults have absolutely no staying power. The wave. This is used in the heat of moment for small / short-term objectives. This is really easy to do, and no one ever seems to do it. Order your platoon to not die for 10 to 30 seconds. Seriously. Maybe even use proximity chat as well. This is called building the wave. Situationally, you'll do a 3 to 5 second countdown for a grenade barrage, and then another 3 to 5 second countdown for crashing in. Spawn beacons should be placed at the first success, whether it's the first choke point, the first building, whatever. Get the beacons up. Ambition is the enemy here. Get them placed while you can before it turns ugly. Orbital strike hunting. Remember this, always destroy the silo first, and then the orbital strike second. Eliminate whatever is in your way of accomplishing those two things. Anti-vehicle turrets and focus firing on a single wall usually does the trick if you can't already access the silo and orbital strike. When the silo is destroyed, every piece of construction deactivates. When the orbital strike is destroyed, there is a very large detonation. Make sure you are not caught in it unless you are looking for a quick path to the redeploy screen, which is often actually what I use it for. For the record, destroying the silo and the orbital strike is enough if you have time constraints. What remains will burn down quickly on its own, and is not worth many certs to the platoon anyway. It's also extremely rare to see such bases saved and rebuilt. It happens, but it's rare. Methods. Sunderballs are the easiest and most often guaranteed form. Only the best built fortresses will survive a platoon-sized Sunderball. Nowadays, most bases just require a handful of even okay players. Once the silo is down, it's basically over. If you're close enough to it already, I'd honestly try it with infantry and spawn beacons first, rather than organizing something that will likely end up being overkill anyway. Note: Galaxy dropping infantry directly inside isn't much of an option anymore. It used to be the standard, but Painspires put an end to that. Training. Nearly every attack is the potential for another training session. Don't treat it like a training session, treat it like an SKL standard for attacking new bases. The focus is still on nailing the basics. We attack a new base, we pull lots of Sunders, preferably from multiple nearby bases so we don't get stuck on queues. Quick vehicle pull from map mode, bottom left of redeploy screen by the infantry icons. Deploy your Sunders at the prime locations near doors, bridges, pathways, and entrances of all kinds, but more or less just surround the whole base with Sunders, sometimes even layers of deployed Sunders. Tell players very specifically, if you can't find a place to deploy, use your Sunder as a makeshift wall for one that is deployed. Just make sure to leave enough room in between them for infantry to move around. This is fairly important as it makes all of our Sunders and the infantry spawning from them more protected. Public Platoon Point Hold Training. Classes: Medics, Heavies, Engineers, Mech Suits, in that order. Really should not see many infiltrators or any light assaults. Don't bring an engineer unless it's actually packing gear. Bunker down and fortify. Stop looking for them, they are coming to you. Less movement. There are 48 of you in a building. Gear down turbo and watch a doorway. First fire advantage. If you are looking down the sights of your weapon, you can often drop the enemy before they have transitioned from running to aiming. Deployables. Don't let them sit in your inventory. If we have routers, the shield gates should be placed around the router. Otherwise, they should be placed around the stairs and doors. Spawn beacons should be in a nearby safe place whenever possible. Stairs are a very common one. There are many other deployables, but the important thing is to just have them down. Remind players, stay within reach of the medics. Once you go outside, you may not get back. Don't crowd the doors, especially in close quarter combat. It blocks line of fire, and they just die to C4 anyway. Now here is one of the easiest and most effective tricks in the game that almost no one does. During point holds, clearly order your platoon to save their grenades for an enemy crash, if they do one. Nothing shuts down a max crash like a grenade barrage as they come through the door. Well, okay, C4 does, but mass grenades are easier. Collapse to point when necessary. I often do it in the last 10 to 15 seconds regardless, just in case. Here are some combat basics training. Headshot advantage. It ignores nanoweave armor. But you should really only go for the headshots if you reliably have 50 plus frames per second. And, if you can actually do it. Use quick knife to finish enemies off. First fire advantage. Practice actually managing your weapon. Cone of fire, single shot, short burst, long burst, managing the recoil at different ranges. The list of free game codes can be found in the Discord for easy copy and pasting. Important note, MLG Report and PS2 Welcome Back only work for one character each. Essential settings and key bindings. Highly recommend making a pit stop to the interface screen and settings. Highly recommend disabling the annoying player has joined /left messages. Highly recommend changing aircraft eject from E to literally almost anything else available. I set mine to 4. Voice settings. Increase voice ducking slide bar if you have a hard time hearing people talk over the explosions. If you have gotten all of that out to your platoon and you still have time, then some outfit recruitment is in order. And that concludes the Essentials Guide. If you can do just this much, you will already be a better than average platoon lead.
Good luck, Commander. You'll need it.